Welcome to Modern Homestead, Alaska. I am Jessica. We are a small working homestead out here in South Central Alaska. Our family is in the infancy stages of building this homestead, the garden, the livestock, all of the different things. And this channel is all of our adventures, whether that's building projects, hunting and fishing, growing our own food, and everything in between. Won't you join us today? Getting ready to do today's video, and what we are doing is a full garden tour. This is going to be part of the Every Bit Counts challenge, and what I wanted to do is just combine and document where we are garden wise before we begin this challenge, and then see at the end of the month, where are we at the end of the challenge? And then the other thing is this is my third year gardening ever anywhere, and my third year gardening in Alaska. And so I like to document the process as we go along. And then we will do an introduction as to what is the Every Bit Counts challenge and how and what you can expect from our channel. I sure wasn't kidding when I said we are a working homestead with livestock, and as always, the chickens are going ham. They have always got something to say in the background of these videos. I just ignore them and move on, but if that's what you're hearing, we have 28 chickens, 2 roosters accidentally, but one of the roosters is fantastic, and then we have a dairy cow up there. Her name is Peaches. She is a miniature Jersey, as well as meat rabbits. I do promise if I introduce the animals to you, such as the rabbits, you're free to get attached to those, because the rabbits you'll see on the channel are actually the rabbits we intend to keep, which means they are our pets. So let's get into the garden though. This first row right behind me as you come into the entrance is many beautiful, fantastic things. We have everything from artichokes to onions. We tried to grow some beans, but the baby chickens destroyed those plans. We have some sugar snap peas, and then we did a little chaos gardening by adding some carrots throughout all of it. The carrots will be one of the last things that we harvest. Therefore, everything else grows up around the carrots. We'll pull the carrots out later. My garden, just so you know, is about 40 by 50 or 48 feet, something like that. And then the 2 greenhouses are 10 by 20. So giving the garden a grand total of 50 by 50 feet. We have everything from flowers. These are forget-me-nots. And down this row here is all of the celery. We have some onions here. On the far side, that is where the spinach was. We already harvested all of the spinach. These are our beets. These have got to get harvested right straight away. It'll be one of our very first projects. They are looking just absolutely amazing. Some of them I have already harvested and given away because they are huge. And then again, there will be flowers at the ends of garden beds. This helps with pollinators and bugs. But look at the size of that beet down in there. Then the marigolds flanking the garden. And then some of the spinach is coming back. Again, flanking it with some flowers at the end. And then these are the cabbages down the centers, all the way purple at the end. And then down here, we have everything from turnips and rutabaga and parsnips. So these are our root veg. We're struggling a little bit with this variety as it keeps going to seed, but that is okay. Just more for the birds and the bees, right? Then the cabbages are starting to head. Little cabbages everywhere. Look at that. Oh, that'll be nice. On the side of the cabbage bed, we had all of the early spring lettuces, and then many of them are coming back. And so we're gonna get another round. We have some Swiss chard here that we're gonna get to. And then many of the lettuces are starting to kind of peek back through as the weather changes. And my goal with all the different kinds of carrots throughout the garden is to get a decent harvest. But look at that. Look at there. Beautiful. Look at that. I can see it. There's one down there. So all of these are doing amazing. And then on the outside here, with carrots planted in between, is kohlrabi. So down there you see a decent little kohlrabi. You are a wild one. What are you? So this right here is the row we're gonna work on. Not only do we have vining things spilling out, we have everything overgrowing, and then it is full of grass. But with the weather, as it permits, I come and do it. But it's a day's labor to do that amount of weeding, but this definitely needs it. So right here was supposed to be kohlrabi, and apparently I mixed up the seed starts because these are Brussels sprouts. And very, very sadly, we're gonna have to thin them today because they are way too close together to actually produce any sprouts. And I really would like to actually get some Brussels sprouts for once. And so Brussels sprouts, then the kohlrabi like it should be, and then carrots throughout this entire bed. Swinging over here, these are collards. I love collards. They're probably one of my favorite things with a little bit of salt pork. And then the kale, all of that is ready. And then all of that, squash, pumpkins, zucchinis, when you came into the garden, you see these two big greenhouses, and what is amazing is I have 2 beds of sunflowers. They don't really produce a lot of food for us, but what I thought they would do, and I think they're going to, is I thought they would build this fantastic, beautiful wall of sunflowers, and it would kind of block out the big white boxes that are the greenhouses. And the sunflowers are getting huge, and it really is doing what I thought it would do. Moving down this row, all of this garlic was planted last fall. We have missed a couple of the garlic scapes, and I will try and grab those out today. But the garlic is now worrying about putting on the biggest bulb it can. There are several different varieties. So if you look over here, this garlic isn't suffering. It is a different variety than this garlic here. So there's a size difference. There's a color variation in the leaves. All of it is very different. I did a video on that so I could document which ones are where. And then we topped the onions, and now the onions in the center 2 rows are actually putting on some fairly large bulbs. These are the biggest onions right now I have ever grown. Look at those girls. Look at the size of those. This is our potato bed. I plant my potatoes probably too close together and probably too many of them. Mostly because that's what I had that was sprouting, and this is the space that I had to put them in. However, they are flowering, which means they are growing the little potatoes underneath. And I have lost this walkway completely. This one, we put a little string up here attached to a T-post. It's pulling the T-post over because the weight of the potatoes is pushing on the string so hard. But that's all right. That's all right. we'll let her do her thing. We continue to try and keep the weeds and everything out of the center here. However, the potatoes do this every year. I don't know. I do have a great plan for how I'm going to do potatoes next year. You'll have to just tag along in order to see that. I have one other area to show you inside of the garden. This is the raspberry bed. We have lots of hopes and dreams for the raspberry bed and lots of plans of building the trellis and doing all of the different things. And Erin and I will this fall get around to that. Back here is a tiny little bed area. And what we have are some onions that were so tiny last year, even though I harvested them. We replanted them to see what they would do. And then back here will be shelling peas. So hopefully we'll get some sort of pea harvest. But this was a last minute thought and a little bit of an experimental bed. So the sunflowers all the way down. Nice. Love it. Okay, let's get to today's work. All right, so what I'm gonna be doing is trimming everything back on this side, adjusting what I can and getting rid of anything that's dead on this side, and then pulling all of this grass out of the center so that I can open this up and have a walkway. And that is my big project for today. And believe it or not, if I don't get started, I'm not gonna get done. Let me get into this. All right, the sun is out. It's so hot, but it's now officially 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we did get it done. I have a little weeding over there to do. That's fine. And then everywhere that I have weeded, I'm trying really hard to keep on top of it. And I think that's just really important. But look, we have a row here. I did push some of the things that are vining that direction. But if you're curious, let me show you something. This is a yellow squash. This is zucchini. So if you look in here, you see it's not a vine, it's a bush. So this is a bush. See all the bushes of zucchinis and yellow squash? That is actually quite fantastic. Everything at that end is vining, the pumpkins and the different gourds and those sort of things. They are vining, and so I started pushing their vines this way. Some are coming across here, which is totally fine. I just will have to step over them. But I love the bush style of these because they just grow up here, and it's really nice to see what size they grow to this year. And then I will know better how to plant these next year. Let's get to harvesting. I gotta show you what I've already done. At the end of this bed that we have all of the squash and such in was green onions or scallions. So I went ahead, finished this bed up here, and then I grabbed the rest of these are the garlic scapes. Aren't they beautiful? They are amazing. Mild garlic flavor, but they do have to be cut out in order to get the biggest bulb possible. So even though I've already processed onions and garlic scapes into pesto, no big deal. We do have some more down here we're gonna pull out of the ground. This is another batch of scallions that I put in. This is our third batch, and they are done, like plenty done. So I'm gonna harvest these only because, let me show you this guy. He's putting on some seeds. Still beautiful. So these are really big. I just harvest them as we need them, but they last quite a while in the refrigerator as well. But they last the longest if left in the ground. So all I'm gonna do is grab them out, grab some clippers here, and I'm gonna trim off the roots. I'm gonna leave the roots out here in the garden. Welcome to one of my 2 greenhouses. We are actually just got a little bit of watering we need to get done today, but let me bring you on in. This is our second greenhouse, and what I want to take note of, this is, like I said, only my 3rd year. Last year I got 1 tiny pumpkin. I direct sowed all of the different pumpkins and squashes and those sort of things. Nothing produced. This year we have fantastic producers, and what had happened is I did seed start all of these and then had an abundance, and what I wanted to learn was greenhouse versus outside. And given the weather this year, actually the outside ones are doing better. However, when we first planted them out into the grow bags and brought them out into the greenhouse, they were doing better out here than the ones in the garden. The ones in the garden took a little while to take off. But now we know squash, all of these things, just grow them outside. But here in Alaska, you do have to seed start them. But I came through, cleaned up anything dead, like how they'll just crunch or fall over. We have tons of new blooms. So these will all be male flowers. And then we have tons of setting. This was me. I got a little happy on the fertilizer here. The rest of them aren't like that, but they're starting to droop because they're super thirsty. But these are all of our tomatillos, and they are approaching 7 foot tall. And then we have a whole row of tomatoes along here. Most in the back are setting fruit. We're flowering. We are going to get a fantastic tomato harvest this year. And then we have really big peppers here. And then also here. Well, the plants are big. They're starting to set fruit, so that's exciting. This is the first greenhouse we built. It has been trouble. We got first some aphids. Now we think it's slugs. We're not quite sure, but it's only attacking the peppers. So we've treated them and treated them and treated them and tried to do everything as organic as possible. Great big learning experience this year, but we have lots and lots of them, and we actually have a little jalapeno down there. So if we can make it, starting to flower. They're fighting. Give them that. They're fighting. And down the center of this greenhouse is a ton, an absolute ton of tomatoes, and they are also just absolutely covered in fruit. We are so excited. There's so many ladybugs in here. Alright, I'm hanging out back here kind of by the coop. If you can see the flags in the camera, it's super windy. But what I'm gonna do really quick is walk around. The outside of the garden is lined with these pots and then the hanging baskets. And there are different kinds of herbs that we're gonna keep for teas and tinctures. Am I gonna do it identical to this next year? No, but some of the things I really like, and I have sure learned a lot. This is my first year actually trying to grow them for teas and tinctures. And then what I tried to do is keep them separate so that I knew exactly what was what, kind of learning the process. Everything looks similar when it's dry. Everything looks similar when it's in its baby stages, but everything is not the same once it grows up. And so I just didn't want it mixed in. I didn't want to figure out what was weeds. I didn't want any of that. So I'll just walk you through, since it's windy, play a little music, and show you the herb. Will interrupt. The borage is dying. I'd never grown this before and it did really amazing, but it should have been harvested a little bit earlier. Live and learn. I got all of these scallions brought in and I am gonna get them ready. I have a garbage bowl and I have some of my Harvest Right freeze dryer trays. And what I think I want to do, because I've already turned a bunch of onion tops this season into a pesto, and I've also turned a bunch of the garlic scapes into pesto, and those are in the freezer. What I want to do is make some salts. Well, to make the salts, you either have to dehydrate, or what is faster and easier is for me to throw them in the freeze dryer. I also like that the flavor is preserved in the freeze dryer and they are completely dried out that way. So I'm just taking the ends off and I'm gonna look for any bits so that I can chop all at once. Here we go. And then I'm gonna fill these freeze dryer trays with onion salt. So we don't have to be too terribly particular in the chopping of the onions, only because when we get them out of the freeze dryer, they are going to go into the blender with the salt to just crush and break them down. And I'm gonna do the garlic scapes and the onion together. And even if I have some additional space left in the freeze dryer, I'm not going to freeze dry anything else with onions and garlic, because everything through the freezing process would gather or get the scent of what we're doing here, and we don't want that. Whew, those are fresh. As I'm processing these, I wanted to explain to you what the Every Bit Counts challenge is. So Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead started this a few years back. And what the premise is in the month of August, that you just gather up, preserve as best as you can, whatever it is that you can, no matter how big or how small, in order to fill our pantries for the winter. She then moves on in the month of January, I believe it is, when they do something called the Pantry Challenge. And that is when you go for as long as you can, living off of your pantry and not buying anything from the grocery store. The intelligence or the genius behind all of it is that for one whole month, we collect and store as much as we possibly can. And the every bit counts is taken into consideration that some may be very, very big preserving projects, and some may also be very small. The idea is just to do the best that you can. And then there are no real rules. There are no real rules. If you see me crying, I'm not emotional. These onions are fresh. So there's no real rules in either the pantry or the every bit counts challenge, other than not going to the store and preserving something every single day for 1 month. I'm a big believer in not all of us have the gardens and the pantries and the space or the things. And where we may get our stuff is by preparing our pantries by going to the local farmer's market. We might purchase things from Costco to fill up our pantries. We need to just allow each other the freedom here on my channel for sure to fill your pantry however you can. And so I pass no judgment. If you buy the stuff from the store, if you purchase the different things that you are processing, or if you grow and preserve yourself. You can go out into the woods and mushrooms and berries and all of the different beautiful things that maybe grow in your area. Collect all of that away for winter. For us, this is extremely personal this year. We've talked about it before, but not too much. My husband and I diligently have built the pantry that we have on the homestead. And in January of this year, our pantry was put to the test when he was laid off for 5 months of no work, but nearly 6 months without a paycheck. And we lived off of our savings and what we stored up. And so for me, it's incredibly personal to be able to restock the pantry this year, given the season that we are slowly but surely coming out of on our homestead. And so I invite you to join along, to do the best that you can with whatever you have. I don't care if it's a single can of soup that you got from the grocery store and put it away in your pantry today. I would love to know what it is you're storing, what it is you put away, and I just want to celebrate with you through this month of doing the very best that we can with what we are given. And so won't you join me in this Every Bit Counts challenge this month? I think it's going to be a good one. So I got 3 trays of the scallions, and then these are the leftover garlic scapes. What had happened is, like I said earlier, some of the varieties are just different and they produce the scape at a little different time, but the vast majority of them had already put off their garlic scape. These are a firm thing. So they're not hollow, and they're not like an onion top, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They are a very firm deal. So we're gonna give them a little chop. Very mild in fragrance and flavor, but they are unique. They have a garlic flavor to them, but they don't actually taste like garlic. So we're gonna get those on the tray. And I think even if this makes like a little tiny jar of some garlic scape salt, I think it'll be fantastic. Now, in an upcoming video, I will show you our freeze dryer. You can tag along the channel, and that way you won't miss any of our setup of our pantry and how we do the things that we do up here in Alaska. And then you can also make sure you follow the hashtag Every Bit Counts. And then in doing so, you will be directed to all the other channels that are participating in making the videos. So that is pretty fantastic the way that she runs all of that. What you can expect from our channel moving forward is I'm hoping to do 5 videos a week. That's very extensive for me because we had moved to 1 very long form video a week. So to increase the recording and those sort of things. But I really want to take the time to teach you in each one of the videos what exactly we're doing and what we're going to do with that product. And so I think the best I can do is 5 videos a week. Wish me luck. All right, so there we have it. I'm just gonna pop all of this in the freeze dryer. I will include it in upcoming videos so you see exactly what we end up doing. But when I'm finished with a day, we'll close out the video like we're doing right now. And in the meantime, if you will, hit that subscribe button. And then I'm gonna link a couple of videos that you might be interested in between now and the next upload. We'll see you soon. Hey, I hope you're blessed. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope you find something to be grateful for. I will catch you in the next video.